Oh, I guess are we good? Are we live? I think we're live. Welcome everyone back to Crypto's News. It's been a minute since we do a video together. Certainly way too long. It's been about a month right now, and I thank you guys so much for the patience, but it's time to get back to it. It's time to get back to Crypto's News, letting you guys know what is happening in cryptocurrency today that you need to be aware of. And surely it's a great time to be paying attention to what's happening in these markets because as you know, it's been a very long bear market, but generally those don't last forever. And some of the best times to stay involved and to be learning about what's happening and to find the best opportunities for places to be is in the depths of a bear market in the winter. That's where you want to be planting those seeds that eventually will turn into saplings in the spring. So thank you so much for joining me here and for continuing to support the show. We're going to get back into it, cover what is happening. And yeah, I'm just super indebted to you guys for continuing to tune in and supporting that way. Thank you for those of you who are here live still. Pothead. Yeah, we're finally back. Christoph. And we have the family in the back too, finally in a new location. And I guess we can finally announce where we're at. We are in Texas. We're somewhere in Texas, deep, and it should be a good place to start up the show again and be able to have it for the longer haul. So thank you again. And let's just start off by talking about what's going on with the markets. As you've probably noticed, there's been quite a bit of volatility over the last few days. We had Bitcoin drop below $17,000 back into $16,900 yesterday. It's up almost $300 since then, just south of 17,200 at $17,188. A bit of a bounce back, as you can see on the right here. Same thing for Ethereum, up 0.7%. It's at 1,276. Of note here is that you have Binance. It went down about 4.5%, which is striking. It's usually something that holds up quite well. As you can see, it's at the number 4 spot. But there was some Binance news that's been coming out, some possibilities of prosecution, of indictments that is creating some sort of FUD. And that is the possibility for why you saw the beginning of that downturn in the overall market, as well as the continuation of that downturn from Binance. We'll take a look at that news in just a moment. And you also have this in the spotlight. Others are noting that we have the Tron stablecoin USDD falling below parity. So I suppose that's something to watch out. It's below $1. It's been happening for some time now. As you can see, it started here around November, dropping and dropping. A bit of a bounce. This has something to do with liquidity apparently dropping off on Curve. That helped a lot with keeping the parity where it was at, and that is a potential issue to pay attention to, I suppose, if you are using Tron and you're a user of that. I'm not too much, but just in case. And this is kind of what we're looking at with the Bitcoin chart. I think it could be the case, in fact, that we have bottomed. I mean, you see that we are now stair-stepping up. Unless we get some major news, I think it would be kind of major if something happened to Binance in some sort of major way. For example, in regards to a withdrawal, some sort of mass run on the bank because people panic, as we saw with FTX. That seems unlikely. You have a huge war chest apparently with Binance. You have their Seifu fund. I personally am not someone who buys that they'll be going under anytime soon. But if they had to completely close doors in Binance US customers and other things, I think that could potentially take us to lower levels, maybe that $13,000 Bitcoin that people would have been waiting to see. But I really can't see it falling much shorter unless we get some sort of major catastrophic news. And this is kind of what you're hearing from Arthur Hayes as well, the former BitMEX CEO. So he had a podcast with Scott Melker, and that was yesterday. He pretty much thinks that we could have bottomed because everyone who could go bankrupt has gone bankrupt. That oftentimes these companies have to sell the reserve asset of crypto, Bitcoin, and that's exactly what they did before going bankrupt. They basically have no Bitcoin left, those weak players, as he's put here. he wrote, there's no reason why you would hold on to cryptos like Bitcoin if you had an urgent need for fiat in order to pay creditors. That makes a lot of sense to me. He has no way of proving it himself, of course, but it does make sense to me. He said this is why the price of Bitcoin swoons before like the centralized players all go bankrupt. That's the big move. He also believes that in 2023, we could have a turnaround for markets to the upside. He said, I believe the U.S. Treasury market will become dysfunctional at some point in 2023 due to the Fed's tightening monetary policies. At that point, I expect the Fed will turn the printer back on, bank on, it says here on Cointelegraph, and then boom, shakalaka, Bitcoin and all other risk assets will spike higher. I know there are still arguments from both sides that no, people are deluded if they think the Fed is going to reverse course. They are really going to try to stop inflation, take it back down to 2%. It's unlikely that's going to be happening in the short term. I suppose that's the bearish case here. But I think what Arthur Hayes, someone who did work as a big trader at the banks, and someone who really understands these systems, what he's talking about is dysfunctionality. Can interest rates stay that high? How much pain does the economy have to suffer before they have to reverse course for, again, political reasons or otherwise, just to keep the system afloat? I don't think anyone has a crystal ball here, but it could very well happen in 2023 with the aggressive expansion of these hikes that we've seen from the Federal Reserve. And we're going to be hearing from them this week on Wednesday in 2 more days as far as their interest rate decision. Which is probably going to be going up 50 basis points is, I believe, the current consensus. If it goes up higher than that, I think that could be bad for the markets. And if it's lower than that, that could signal, I guess, that the Fed is either worried, and that's unlikely, I do want to say. They're worried that something is about to break, or maybe they do believe that they're fighting inflation, although we're not back at their targets right now. And tomorrow, we're also waiting on some inflation data, which I suppose could play some sort of role as to what comes out on Wednesday, but I'm sure the Federal Reserve already knows and already has pre-planned what's going on here based on the data that they're seeing from their end. So that's likely to drive at least some volatility as we tend to see, and that's probably why the week has started off this way. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see here. It doesn't look like Bitcoin wants to fall much below $17,000. It does seem to be at least some sort of floor here between $16,000 and $17,000 and creeping higher. So that would be maybe some sort of confirmation of a bottom if it continues in that sort of direction and we see no catastrophic news. So stay tuned for that. If you are a trader on Bybit, I know a lot of the crypto YouTubers have killed it, right? As the leverage platform of choice. After BitMEX came Bybit. Well, Bybit is enhancing their KYC policy, so it may not be as easy to be trading on there after December 15th. Just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. So you don't have, if you have funds on there, especially sizable funds, you don't have issues withdrawing them. If you do use Bybit for their NFT features, then you might have limitations on your account as well after December 15th. So yes, they use KYC, they talk about know your customer to verify the identity of customers and to identify customers and analyze their risk profiles to help prevent money laundering and the financing of illicit activities, or really in order to make the regulators happy. Anyway, after if you do not complete the KYC verification, you will no longer be able to use the earn products or gain access to certain features such as the launch pad that they have on there. It's also going to be required for any fiat on-ramp services for claiming rewards in the rewards hub. So if you don't want to have to KYC and you have rewards that are due to you, you might want to claim those now. And the depositing, withdrawing, trading of NFTs. It's not going to be too bad, the withdrawal limits as far as the USDT. The daily withdrawal limit is going to be 20,000 USDT. So really not a small amount. And the monthly withdrawal limit will be 100,000 USDT. This is pretty good to me. I mean, this leads me to believe it's not some sort of solvency issue, or they would make the limits a lot less if that is what's going on here. It's likely just trying to abide by regulations, and we do know that they're just becoming a lot more strict around the world in regards to regulating cryptocurrency, especially here in the United States. So that's a lot of this FUD that's going on right now. Reuters put out this beast of an article where they interviewed just short of a dozen different people who used to work at Binance, and tried to figure out around the situation of this investigation that's been going on since 2018 into Binance, potentially involved in money laundering, potentially involved in evading sanctions, for example, in Iran, and helping billions of dollars be traded or moved from these countries and around. And yeah, this is pretty striking news because Binance has really blown up in popularity after FTX. Their volumes have continued to explode, about $1.7 trillion last month in volume to FTX's $280 million. So quite a beast in that regard. And it looks like the executives, such as CZ himself, are under investigation. Notable since Binance isn't a crazy old exchange. They've only been around since 2017, but that they really did blow up in popularity around then. And these investigations began back in 2018, a while ago. And this is happening on behalf of the money laundering and asset recovery section of the Justice Department, or what's known as MLARS, that's looking into this, along with the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Western District of Washington and Seattle. And this new team that came out in the United States called NCET, or the National Cryptocurrency Enforcement Team. They've just been around since 2021. Those three prongs here of the Justice Department have been investigating over time Binance, and they've been probing them for all sorts of information. Neither they nor Binance specifically gave information here. This was all done through Reuters interviews, again, with people familiar with the case. They looked at company records they talked about to try to get the comprehensive piece of what's going on here. But it looks like these prosecutors who have been investigating have been delaying what's going on here, maybe looking for more data. They're really not sure what they're going to be doing here. Are they going to be indicting people? Are they going to be doing money laundering charges or other kinds of charges first? Or are they just going to let this go, which to me seems unlikely? We do know that these kinds of cases move quite slow. That's something that we're probably seeing with even FTX, where they're trying to get as much data, and it could be a while before we see some sort of prosecution come out here. But yeah, as Binance has said in their argument, a criminal prosecution here could wreak havoc on the crypto market already in a prolonged downturn. But I don't think the regulators really care very much if they are able to cause the prices to go down for crypto. Of course, it could have hurt the average person. So Binance has been doing all sorts of things. For example, hiring people who worked at the IRS from in the criminal investigations unit. They hired, for example, this individual here, Tigran Gambaryan, and he even put out an article to refute some of the claims, perhaps in this piece, that Binance might have been culpable of wrongdoing. So this was posted just today on Binance's blog. Let it be known to the naysayers and aspiring criminals, crypto is not the criminal tool the media often makes it out to be, nor is it a lawless domain governed by crypto exchanges that refuse to work with law enforcement. Crypto is not a safe haven for illicit activities. I know this is true for Binance, at least. To recap, in 22, our team has, and this is the Binance team again, responded to over 47,000 law enforcement requests. And with those requests, apparently they have a turnaround of just a few days, which is in contrast to larger financial institutions that sometimes can take months to comply with these, and the money has disappeared if there were criminal surroundings with that capital. Increased security and compliance headcount by more than 500%. So this individual is not the only person from the IRS Criminal Investigations Unit that has been hired by Binance. They've hired about 5 people actually from that arm They've participated, Binance, in over 70 anti-crime, cybercrime workshops with global law enforcement and became the first blockchain and crypto company to join the National Cyber Forensics and Training Alliance, NCFTA. It seems to me like a lot of what's gone on here, if there was any wrongdoing from Binance, may have happened in the past, maybe earlier on as things were a lot more vague when it came to regulations back in 2017. That's really when you saw more of a focus on cryptocurrencies. And so it was, if you're working on one of these exchanges and you're building one out, it was you trying to do your best, trying to look at what the mainstream finance did and wondering if that was exactly how it was going to apply to crypto. There were not very clear guidelines, so you kind of tried to operate how well you could. But maybe there was more shady stuff that went on here. We know that they're very serious, these prosecutors, when it comes to sanctions, and CZ and Binance may not have cared very much until recently. As it says here, until 2020, Binance's legal department operated on bare bones. So that was for quite a long time, although they, again, seem to be a lot more serious nowadays. And I guess something that looks a little bit more culpable here is that they have basically been saying at Binance internally to not use email very much for communication and leave many traces of their messaging. So they prefer to instead use encrypted peer-to-peer messaging, for example, that automatically deletes messages. So that could be a reason that you have these kinds of delays into the investigation, is that it's hard to get hard data because it's been deleted. But why would you be deleting stuff as a company? I don't know. I mean, it's not too surprising to me, considering that privacy has been a big tenet of crypto, although it looks a little bit odd when you see that that some sort of company has been doing it as well. Anyway, this is going on right now. It looks like it could be a while before we get some sort of official announcement of charges, although it could happen very soon because according to this, the Justice Department has recently appointed a new head for the money laundering and asset recovery section that is investigating Binance, and that is this Brent Weibel, who previously worked in the fraud section and as well as a prosecutor in the Southern District of New York. And both of those offices were known for being very aggressive when it came to pursuing cases. So something could be happening, since this just happened recently in October. This hire could be the case that we see something happen soon with Binance, considering they have 4 years worth of data into this. So I think that's a lot of what's going on with the FUD here. And I wanted to make sure that you were aware potentially of what could be going on here. I think it is interesting, however, that others are pointing out that suddenly the media is going after Binance. They're focusing on Binance and they're being so nice to FTX, to a billionaire philanthropist, a donor, an effective altruist or autist, whatever you want to call it. And I think it is the case that they're also just trying to build a case for FTX before announcing anything. And as you can see here, this has been a 4-year ordeal so far with Binance and nothing yet. So could be the case as well with FTX. Oh yeah, this was just notable. There was an individual, it looks like here, on December 8th who had his API keys that were trading for him. He looks like a leverage trader. He announced on Twitter that his Binance account got exploited through an API, which he had created 2 years ago to do that trading on his behalf. He hadn't used that API key since then, which he assumed had been deleted, but apparently didn't. And it was used to make trades on low cap coins by him in order to manipulate prices. He would go to low cap coins, bid them up, cause a little bit of a surge in price, have other people pile on. So it was a bit of a pump and dump scheme that he was running with that. Then it was announced that he just basically kept going here on Twitter and claiming that he should be refunded, others should be refunded. CZ announced basically that they had to be a little bit careful because of some of the wording that Coin Mamba was doing, saying he was going to go after and expose Binance, all of this. So they froze his account. He didn't like it. And then I guess the latest continuation of this drama right now is this, where Binance wrote, "It appears you're still confused in regards to the reason that your account was put into withdrawal only mode. Coin Mamba, here is a screenshot of your conversation with our CS agent." So they went ahead and shared an interaction that CoinMamba had with customer service at Binance, which is very odd. It's not something you usually see a company go out on social media and put up a conversation. Usually these things are private, as you can see here. I believe you notice CZ's response wrote Twitter to you on Twitter. If and when you are willing to engage law enforcement, we will gladly assist with their investigation into your case. Otherwise, you may consider engaging 3 commas regarding the incident. That's another bit of drama I'm not going to get into right now. But anyway, yeah, he said, good luck to you, tricking me here, answering questions for CZ to make tweets. You gonna pay for this? I'm gonna expose you all. So they're like, yeah. So it kind of makes sense that you're threatening us, that we will go ahead and put you into withdrawal mode. But others are saying this is possibly even legal. I'm not entirely sure of the legality of them sharing something like this. I don't think it is, but maybe you guys know more. It is an interesting conversation, however, to see here. Sharing private customer support conversations seriously. After seeing the latest actions of Binance, wrote CoinMamba, I'm seriously worried about my safety. Not sure how far they would actually go. They can dox my identity and home address too. That was one of the more interesting things that I saw today, opening up Twitter, and I wonder what direction that will be going. But anyway, FTX, it's something that I'm going to try to cover a little bit less. Thanks so much, Pothead. I'm glad you like the setup. Elle was basically the one who set up the lighting so nicely, and she helped with the camera, and she did crazy cable management. So props to Elle, who's hiding behind me back there. But yeah, a major thank you to her, no doubt. Thanks so much, 10 pence. But just to follow up a little bit on what's been going on with FTX here, the US is trying to probe a little bit further. For example, when FTX was announcing their bankruptcy, funds had apparently moved from the US over to the Bahamas. They're looking, the Justice Department, into the legality of that. They're again just building up some sort of case. Potentially, you saw FTX breaking the law by moving customer funds and loaning them out to Alameda Research, which was also funded by Sam Bankman-Fried, who basically gave up his role as the head of that so he could act like he was no longer tethered to it, but gave Alameda Research all sorts of privileges. They couldn't be liquidated on FTX, for example. They had the ability to tap unlimited funds on there for their leverage. It was just crazy. They had the ability to look at data of what was going on at the exchange to front run customers. What's coming out right now is crazy about this, but surely they're building a case here. I hope it is the case anyway. And you see some sort of justice, perhaps. If there's going to be justice happening around crypto, I think in this case, it definitely needs to happen because of just how disgusting this case has been going. But some of the latest, as well, is that he's been called into a hearing before Congress to testify. And he will not be coming to the United States. Surely he fears that he'll be put into custody right away as soon as he lands for whatever reason. And so he's kind of staying away, and he will be doing the testifying, I'm hearing, remotely. So that's a bit of an update on that. I thought this was interesting. CoinDesk was trying to explore ChatGPT. So surely you guys have been seeing what's been going on with AI. You have like the illustrative AI coming out with apps like Lensa, which is an iPhone app that you can feed 10 to 20 images of yourself and it'll give you AI generated art. Or you see the efforts by OpenAI, which was a company that was funded by Elon Musk as one of the major investors, and others who are very interested in AI. They've been putting out their ChatGPT, which allows you to chat with an AI. And, you know, it's not going to give you any answers to anything in a racist way unless you learn how to model things or your questions to it. But it gives interesting responses that potentially could change the way that we operate online in the future, because most people go to, when they want an answer for something, they go over to Google, as it says here on this article, and they Google something. They go to a search engine, and it's allowed search engines to have so much power in Web 2.0, the web that we are all so stuck to because of communities. People just continue to go to Facebook, right? Because that's where everybody's at. So we haven't really evolved further into Web 3.0, which I think could be heavily powered by crypto as a native payment system, rail, and other technologies that blockchain enables, or distributed ledgers anyway, that could be useful to explore in a new vision of Web 3.0 without centralized players like Google and their ad revenue model, which you search for something, it's going to be those who pay the most, basically, that ended up at the top. It's become not a very level playing field, certainly not as level as it was when I first really started using the internet, which for me was back seriously in any sort of way back in 1997. Some of you guys are a little bit older, so you might have explored it before that, but it really has just become so centralized in some major players. But anyway, with the ability to now chat with AI, you have GPT-3 here that this chat GPT is, or OpenAI's chat is based off of. But soon we're hearing that it could be as soon as maybe early 2023. So very soon, maybe February, March, that GPT-4 will be coming out. That's going to be trained in way more language processing, a lot more different nodes of data being put in there, where basically it gets fed everything that's on the internet. That's been written, and it has learned from that. So it sees what's been written, and then it predicts what could be coming next to just give out really interesting answers. Right now, you're getting from OpenAI, from the current version, infactual answers. Sometimes it'll tell you things that might not be true, and it only has data up to mostly 2021. It has some data after that and some events after that, but mostly 2021. But this new version will be a lot smarter, and who knows what kind of answers it could give us. Like, I've had it write out formulas for me, experimenting for Excel, for example, to do something for me, and it gave me step-by-step instructions. I've had it write plays for me related to cryptocurrency just to mess around with it. But I thought it'd be fun. Anyway, well, before I jump to an example of that I thought might be fun. I thought that this opinion piece was interesting because it could change. Instead of Googling something, you ask the AI something, and that would really upend the business models of these search engines and potentially these brands that use these search engines to reach people. They might have to find other ways to reach people. And so this posits that one of those ways could be through NFTs, for example, to create partnerships directly with the consumer, since it will be possible now to go directly to consumer rather than having to deal with a search engine and discoverability that way. It's definitely something interesting to think about and something to ponder over as we go forward here. The future is coming quick is all I'm going to say. Anyway, here's the question that I asked today. I thought to put an end to this Bitcoin versus Ethereum thing that we've been battling for years. I said, okay, write me a short poem on Bitcoin versus Ethereum. Simple. And I really like the answer. Here it is. Bitcoin and Ethereum, two sides of the same coin. One seeks to be a store of value, the other a platform for smart contracts. Both have their supporters and both have their detractors, but in the end, it's up to the market to decide their fates. Bitcoin, the original cryptocurrency, with a fixed supply and a loyal following. Ethereum, a newer entrant with more flexibility. Both have their strengths and both have their limitations. In the end, only time will tell which of these two will prevail. But for now, they coexist. In the world of cryptocurrency, there's room for more than one. There we go. We can have both for now. And I will finish this show. Thanks again, guys, for showing up today as we get the ball rolling again with the show. For continuing to support through the many revolutions that this show has had. I'm indebted to you guys, and I hope that you've enjoyed it, took something away from it, and are a little bit more on top of what's going on here. Always dig a little bit deeper, not financial advice, as I always say, but I do want to see you guys succeed. Let me know how we can continue to make the show good for you guys in the comments, like Elle had said here. And yeah, thanks for being a part of the family. Here's our quote of the day as we finish here on the show. Civilization began the first time an angry person cast a word instead of a rock, by Sigmund Freud. Take care, everyone. Much love, and stay cryptic. Peace.